Okay. So yesterday, what we were doing, I think we were doing our decision tree classifier. Okay. And I remember sir asked me, Rakesh sir was there, who was asking me, can we see the decision tree that we implemented the same way? Can we see in the help of Pandas library and everything? So yes, it is possible. As I told you, there are different methods, not only one method. There are different methods which are available. And what I found, several people use GraphViz and everything. What I found, prefer very simple, very simple plot. What I have to use, I have to use simple tree library. I have to simple import from sklearn import tree. Directly I can import tree, and very much like a matplotlib, I define my figure size, and then I used a variable. Variable name can be anything you can give. Okay. So in this tree function, there is a, in this tree module, there is a function known as plot tree. I use the function known as plot tree, where I will have to pass. I have to pass my what? I have to pass my model which I have built. And yesterday we built the model, and the model name was PS. If we go here and see, we build up a model known as PS. Okay. So whatever model we have built from the decision tree, same model we have fitted here. So same model name you have to give here. Exactly same model name we have to give here. Then we have to find the features name. Feature names input variables. Our input variables are always contained inside the X. Input features are always contained inside the X. So I will pass X dot columns, and X dot columns will give me column names. If you want to check it, so basically they need column names. Okay. So X dot columns, if I'll do, it is going to give me all the column names which are available. Okay, so we need to pass column names. Either you can pass this way, or you can create a separately and pass, but it is a shorter way. You can just pass X dot columns, means columns name they need of only features, not output variable. Okay, and these are some default variables: filled equal to true, font size rounded equals to, that's it. And after that, I have to just do plt dot show. Once I will do plt dot show, I will get my decision tree. Actually, this is looking smaller because I have changed a bit. Let me show you what I have changed. There is a very important parameter inside decision tree, very important, known as maximum depth. Understand this. It is a very important parameter known as maximum depth. And what is the significance? Let me understand. Let me delete it first of all. Okay. Let it be default. Let me run this again. Okay. Let me fit it again. Again, let me predict after training. Let me check the accuracy. Okay. Can you just notice one thing? What you notice something? Earlier it was showing 80 point something. Now it showed 71.91. Don't worry about that. I'll tell you why it is happening. This one. Okay. Now I got executed this to see the column names. Now I'm again executing this. It will take some time to plot. Okay. Can you now see the decision tree? Earlier I saw you, but now see what kind of decision tree it is. Very means what it is trying to do. It is trying to meet at every data point. And the biggest problem of decision tree is, understand, the biggest problem of the decision tree is a terminology known as overfitting. And these are interview questions: overfitting and underfitting. Okay, these are two very important parameters, and your decision trees are prone to overfit. What do you mean by overfit? Understand, we have two kind of data. One is train, one is test. Understand, if my model is performing good on training data, but not performing good, means performing bad on the test data. It's performing good on the training data, but not performing good on the test data, or performing bad on the test data. We will say that my model is overfitting. Understand the terminology, what I am saying. When my model is performing good on the training data, but not performing well on the test data, we will say that my model is overfit. It's very much like that. What do you mean by training data? I have trained my model using the training data, right? I've trained my model using the training data. Now I'm asking same questions from him. I'm asking same, what I'm doing from the training data only. I'm asking, okay, tell me what is your accuracy from the training data. In training data, we pass both X train and Y train. From that, my machine learning model is trained. Now what I said, okay, now you have been trained, take X train for me. Take X train from me and predict the Y train. You have been trained on the same data, very much like I have teach you 15 questions in the class. Okay. And from the same 50 questions, example, I gave you 10 questions to ask. Same 10 questions to ask. Now, this is nothing but the training testing is what I've been training you on the training data. Okay. The model has been trained. Now I give you the data from training data only and asking you, please tell me what will be my Y train. If it is performing well, means it is able to predict Y train very well. Fine. We will say, okay, it's performing good on the training data. But the actual performance is being checked by the unseen data or the new data. So my model has been trained in the training data. Now to check its actual performance, I will send a new data, which is unknown to the training data, that is X test data. Now I will check how it is performing on the test data, the new data which has been given. If it is performing well, means it is able to predict Y test pretty well, means it is performing good on the test data as well. I will say that my machine learning model is a generalized model. It performs good for every possible condition. But if it performs well on the training data, but not on the test data, we will say that my model has overfit. It has learned everything from the training data, right? Very much like you have a student in the class. Some students are those who get their concepts clear. Okay. And some students are those who mug up everything what has been taught in the class. Just mug up. Very much like this. Just mug up everything. And few persons are those who learn the concept. So when some new questions come to the exam, some new questions which are not covered in the class, but are based on the concept, who is going to perform well? The person who has learned the concept or the person who has mug up everything what has been taught in the class? Can you answer me? Who will perform well?
Yes, learn the concept.
Yes, learn the concept. So earlier person who has mug up everything is very much like your overfit. Okay, he will be performing very good. If same questions are given which are given in the class, he will be performing very good. It means training has been done by the teacher, and teacher is giving same training data he's giving. He's asking now, okay, now tell me what is the accuracy of on the same. Okay, he will perform very well because he has mug up everything from the class. But when unseen data will be given to him, he will not perform well. If that is the case, means he's able to perform good on the training data and not able to perform good on the test data, we will say that my model is overfit. Is it clear what is overfitting? Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's perfect. What is overfitting? And second thing is that if he's able to perform good on the training data and he's able to perform good on test data, means the person who has learned the concepts, whether we give him the class questions, means training data, or whether we give him unknown question, test data, if he's able to perform good on both the training data and test data, we will say my model is a generalized model. It is able to perform well in all the condition, and this is our desired model. The model should be like this, a generalized model. Okay, so we got to understood two terms. What is overfitting? Second term, what is generalized model? Generalized model which is performing well on the training data as well as in the test data. Means seen data and unseen data, both it is performing well. Third one is underfitting. Underfitting in easier terms, when my model is not able to find the pattern among the data, means it is neither performing well on training data nor performing well on the test data. In both the cases, it is not even try to learn. It tried to learn, but it could not find the pattern in the training data. It could not learn from the training data. Underlying trends, it could not understand. So it is not able to perform well on the training data, not able to perform well on the test data. Such particular models are known as underfitting models. Okay, so best models are what? Your generalized models. So three category we understood. What? Number one, you're underfitting. Second, you're overfitting. Third, generalized. So if we pass our trained data, underfitting model will perform poor. Overfitting will perform well. Generalized will perform well. If we pass our test data or unseen data, underfitting will perform again poor, not able to predict the trend in the training data. That's why it's performing bad. Overfitting, it performed well on the training data, but poor on the test data. But generalized will perform even well on the test data, means unseen data. These are the three categories: underfitting, overfitting, and generalized. And the drawback of the decision tree is overfitting. It tends to overfit your training data. Tends to overfit means tries to learn everything from the training data. Tries to learn everything from the training data. This is a drawback. That tends to be very much, and you can control that. Don't worry. In the decision tree, you can control it, because what is happening? See how much depth is there. This is our root node. It moved to the 1, then 2nd, then 3rd, then 4th, then 5th, then 6th, then 7th, then 8th, then 9th, then 10th. How much is the depth? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 10th depth. Even higher, even it is higher if we go here. If we go here, in some cases, it is even more than that. If we come here, see, if we see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, then further 13, 14, 15, and so on. Okay, it tries to learn everything. Even if we go there, it may be even more than that. It may be like even every single data point it is going to consider when we didn't specify the test. And how can we know that how my model is performing? It is underfitting or overfitting or generalized model. Very easy to see. Very easy to see how we can see that. Okay, let me show you that. How can we see that? Okay, this my model has been trained here, which is the model. This is the model. This is the model, and we check accuracy on test data. It is 0.74. This is on the test data. Let me check the accuracy on training data. How can we do that? How can we do that? First, let it predict from the training data. How do we predict? Same by the same method, ds.predict, but instead of x test. Okay, so I'm saying suppose y_pred t for the train equal to, what is my model name? Model name is ds. Example, it is ds, so I'm passing ds. Okay, ds dot predict. Perfect. And instead of x test, now pass x train. Now pass x train. Okay, fine. It has predicted that. Now calculate accuracy from this. Accuracy. How is the accuracy on the training data? Instead of y test, I will pass y train now. Okay, I'll pass y train, because what it has done, what this has done, it has tried to predict the value of y train from the x train. Right? So now we will compare what is my actual y train. This is my actual y train. And what it has predicted, that is y_pred tr. Okay, so this will give me training accuracy. I hope you are getting point what I have written. What I am trying to predict, I'm trying to predict the value of y train from x train using this model. Using this model. So this will be predicted value of y train. What accuracy does, it compares the actual value and the predicted value. The actual value is y train, but predicted one of the y train is ypdtr. Let me run this. Okay, can you check how much accuracy it is? Please check it. 98.48% on the training data. Can you see that? Can you see? Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And see the accuracy on the test data. See, 74.71%. So is my model overfitting or not? Please tell me. Right? Clearly
Generalize, so we can say generalize.
generalized means when it performs well, means both are comparable. Suppose it is 98%, okay, and it is also around 96, 97, but almost equal.
Okay, okay.
Right? Means it is 97 and it is also 97 or 98.
Okay, right.
Both are almost equal at a higher level. At the higher, it should be high first of all. Accuracy or your other parameters, means confusion matrix we calculated, those should be high. Even if those are high, then both should be high. It is 98, then it should also be around 97, 98. Approximately, at least compare. Then we can say it is generalized. Now, there is a big difference. Test accuracy is low. Accuracy is high. That means it is overfitting. You can see it. I can lower it down. I can increase the test accuracy. See how I will do that. Instead of is random state, there is a parameter known as depth. See how much depth was there. Going. That's why it is doing good on the training data. Perfectly fine. Now let's control the depth. Let's control the depth. Where it is. Where I was working. I think I was downside somewhere. Where it should be somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Here, I think it is the one we were working. The name was different, if I'm correct. I don't know where I'm working right now. Where it was, we just, yeah, ds.predict. See, what I'm going to do here, in this place, we just saw accuracy training is 98%, score is 74% of test data. I'm putting a parameter here, an important parameter known as max depth. Okay. Max depth. There are other features, other parameters also, which you can explore. Max features, max leaf nodes, which are hyperparameters, known as hyperparameters. And this is the way to do. Change different parameters for different value and see how much performance is better. In which condition this model is going to perform better. Every model has some hyperparameters. Every model has some hyperparameters. And one of the very important parameter here we just saw is max depth. Okay. Suppose I'm putting max depth equal to, let's say, 4. Okay, let me rerun this. Let me fit it. Let me run this. Let me run this. Let me test accuracy. Did you notice something? My test accuracy has been increased now from 74 to 80%. From 74 to 80%. Okay, now move ahead. Let's see how much is the training accuracy. Why? Of course, it understood. Now these are closer. Can you see that? Not much difference is there. 0.84 and 0.80. Why? Because we prevented overfitting. We prevented overfitting means we are not making sure that it learned everything. That's why was the problem. I reduced the depth. And once I reduce the depth, the model is DS. See, if I go here and here, if I put DS model, the same which I have trained, DS, and let me run this now. See, it has been reduced to only 3 level depth. 1, 2, and 3, not more than that. I hope you can see that. But an idea? There are different features which you can explore, and this is the way to explore. Start taking it, go to that, and see which machine learning algorithm has which hyperparameters it is having, which we can control. Okay, go there and search it and use it in your models. This is the way to learn. Okay, I'll put it, I'll see what is happening now. I'll use this, I will see what will happen now. So everything you are going to learn very easily, very, very easily. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so see the clear-cut difference we are able to see. Clear-cut difference. How much is the difference? Easily we are able to control that. I think no, it is just above. Yeah, here 80% test accuracy, 84% training. Okay, they are closer at least. Earlier difference was too high. very well performing on the training data, but badly performing on the test data. Now, at least comparable, 84 and 80. Okay, now you can say my accuracy is around 81%. Earlier, you cannot say what is my accuracy. It was 74. You will say my accuracy is 70 or 72%. Now the accuracy has been changed. Different parameters that which you can control. Very, very different. For example, there's a parameter known as max leaf nodes. If we come here, okay, max leaf nodes, okay, and suppose I set it to be 2. Okay, leaf nodes are terminating nodes. Leaf nodes are terminating nodes. Let me run this again. Run this again. Run this again. Run this again. It changed. It reduced. Right? Let me check it. Run this. Run this. Even it reduced. Even it reduced. Let's try to increase it. Let's try to make it, let's say 4. C or 3. Let's see what happens. Increased or decreased. We can check it. What will be the outcome? These are known as hyperparameters. Okay. 75%. Will further decrease, but training accuracy increase. So different parameters you can play on, and how we can do that very easily. If somebody asks me, please tune it yourself. Although there is a parameter known as grid, a method known as grid search. But if somebody asks me, I used to do this way. For I can put any parameter. For example, max any parameter. For I set I in range. Okay. I in range. I set to 10 means 1 to 9. I will put the value of max depth. Okay. I will take this way. Okay. I can create an empty list here. I can create an empty list here, and I can just try substituting every value. Suppose here I create an empty list. For example, empty list is accuracy or something. Okay. Accuracy or something. And it's an empty list. What I will do again. I'll take this parameter. Which parameter? This thing. I will take this. Okay, the model name is DS, perfectly fine. Instead of max depth equal to 4, I will put it I here. I will put I here. Right? I will put I here, and from this I can do ds.predict. I hope you people are getting my point now. And I can put x_test. Okay, I'm just checking. Normally it is not preferred to check this thing on the test. Better put on training. Don't do it on the test. It's not recommended. Because if you are training it on the test and presenting it to your boss, when he will give you further unseen data, your model is going to be failed. So better do it on the train. Okay, make it whatever you want to. Suppose y_t. You give the name to be. Then calculate your accuracy score. Is stored in somewhere accuracy score and accuracy score. And within that, pass your y_train, comma, and predicted one y_t. Okay, and later on, whatever result will come, append that to the accuracy. So I'll say accuracy dot append, and what you want to append, the value of accuracy which is coming. So for every iteration, whatever accuracy will be coming, it will be stored in this way. It will be stored in this, and you will be easily see in which of the cases, because it will happen systematically. For 0th index, we will have some accuracy. First index, we will have some accuracy, and so on. So we will get different value of accuracy for different value of I. That is, and I means different value of max depth. So whichever is giving you highest, use that one in the further implementation. I hope you get an idea now. How do we can iterate over it? Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Similarly, instead of classifier, you can use regressor as well. Suppose you have a regression problem. So what we can do, again, we can import from sklearn.tree import decision tree regressor. Now you will use a regressor. So it works same way. Only thing is that earlier we were using entropy for finding our root node or Gini impurity for our root node. In it, it uses minimization of variance. It uses reduction in variance as a parameter. Earlier, we were using entropy or Gini impurity in case of classification task. Here, it will use your reduction in variance parameter for regressor problem. Task will be same. We can execute it and we can create its instance. For example, I create an instance to be whatever you want to call it, because it's a class again, decision tree regressor. And you can go inside and check the hyperparameters, which are the different parameters. And the criteria it is using as MSE, mean square error it is using. Means it try to reduce the mean square error, and depth, split, sample leaf, everything is mentioned. So these are different hyperparameters that you can tune and check what will happen in which case, what will happen in which case. This is the thing. And same, but just that it's a regressor. So you can pass on the data corresponding to regression. Let me check it. I have imported it perfectly fine. So let me go back. Okay. And this is a big mart data cell, perfectly fine. So I'm doing kernel, restart and clear output. Let me clear it. And let's solve the regression problem. Okay. So let me work till this point. Perfectly fine. Min key enables regressor. Okay. Okay. Till this point. Okay. Just before this. So I'm saying cell run all above. I'm just doing that to save our time on the big mart data set that we have already worked. Okay, this has been done. This is all the cases with the KNN, but I just want to know, this is simple X train and Y train for that one. If you want to check it, now we can do that. Let me insert some rows here. Let me check my X train this time. The big mart data set, and this is, we are working on decision tree regressor. Okay. This is, we are working on the decision tree regressor. So we will type here what? So let's check first of all X string dot head numpy. Oh, fine, perfectly fine, no issue. We can check our X string. This is a X string in the form of array. If you want to convert it into the data frame, you can easily do that. Let me check X test. It should be also an array, perfectly fine. So now what we can do, we have X train ready, X test ready. We should check our Y train. Okay, Y train. We should check Y test. Perfectly fine. Now we can import our library from sklearn dot tree import decision tree regressor. Okay, done. Create an instance of the class, and class is decision tree regressor. Suppose the name is decision tree regressor, DTR equal to decision tree regressor. An instance we created. Okay, created. Once created, fit it. Means train it on the training data. So DTR dot fit X underscore train, comma Y underscore train. Okay, my model has been trained. Now we can use it to predict. DTR dot predict. What we want to predict? We want to predict the value of Y test from X test. So X underscore test, and let the game is Y underscore pred R for regression. Pred R. So I'm predicting it. Perfectly fine. Okay, now it's a regression problem. So we cannot use accuracy, we cannot use a confusion matrix or any other parameter. We have to use different parameter like mean square error. I think we have used that in the previous case as well, if I'm sure. Yes, the parameter is what parameter? Yes, mean square error or mean absolute error we have used. So we can use it to compute the mean square error. I'm going there. Mean square error, and we want to compare that between Y test and Y pred R. So let me run this. It gave me mean square. Yeah, it was that easy. So no problem. You can easily do. Means beginning. It is very easy to write the algorithm. It's very, very easy, right? The only issue is that you should know the mathematics learning behind the hood. Okay, because see how much build the machine learning model. How much time does it take? Barely 5 minutes. Just machine learning model. Most of the time that you will be using, that will be work in your data preparation, your data exploration, seeing the graphs, how the relationship is there, what kind of outliers are there or not, convert the, remove the outliers, treat the missing values, okay, scale your data and something like that. Okay, now we are moving to the most important algorithm of machine learning. Very, very, very important algorithm of machine learning known as linear regression. Have you heard about it ever? Ever heard about the linear regression? The most important algorithm. Means you can say it's a basic one. It's a basic one. Not most important, but if you say somebody, okay, I've studied machine learning, he's going to ask you, do you know linear regression? Okay, and the name itself signifies it's a regression problem. It's a regression, although there is one more algorithm known as logistic regression, but that is for classification. Here now we are going to deal with linear regression. Understand it's very, very easy. If you have a mathematics background, it's very, very easy. I'll explain you everything. Okay, don't worry. So we are going to move to the linear regression algorithm. Okay. Linear regression algorithm. How does it work? Okay, understand. What happens? Suppose I have a problem in which there is only one parameter for now. Only one parameter for now, and that parameter is house area, your house size. Okay, size. Okay, so training data is given to me size and the price of the house. This parameter is given to me. I'm just taking an example. Okay, size is given and price is given. Suppose size is 20 square meter. I'm just giving an example. The cost is 50. And as we know, this is always a relationship like this. Whenever the house size will be more, the price will be higher on the side. That's 100% sure. So 40. If it is 40, it is 100. Example, just taking an example. If it is suppose 50, it is 120. If it is 70, it is supposed to say 150. This kind of data is given to you. Okay. And what will be the problem? Problem will be that this is your training data, which is given to you. This is your training data, which is given to you. And he will ask you, okay, now tell me if my size is 60 square meter. Okay, my house size is 60 square meter. Tell me what will be the price. What will be the price? This is the training data which is given to you. House size is 20 square meter, then 50, 40 is 100, 50 is 120, 70 is 150. Okay, so what your task will be now? Your task will be to find out from the training data a relationship between your price and size. There should be some relationship. Okay, you should be able to find out a relationship, means price should be a function of size, and you should be able to find out a relationship between price and size. Okay, so what you will do? You will pass this training data to my model. Okay, and that model from this data will try to find out a function. Let's say fx. And this fx is what? Nothing but what is the relationship between size and price? What is the relationship between size and price? So we have to find out that relationship. You are inputting x. Okay, you are inputting x. You want to find out y. You want to find out y. Okay, so what is the relationship between y and x? How they are related together? We have to find out that function. Once that function is found out, we can put the unseen data to this, means test data. We can put our test data so that it can do the prediction on the basis of test data. What is my price? Okay, so we will try to find out relationship. We'll try to find out relationship between our input variables and output variables from the training data. It's a supervised algorithm, right? The output variable is given to us, your input variable is given to us, and see, it's a continuous data. Okay, it may be 50.23, it may be 100.23, anyway, it can be even 120, 150 or something like that. Because I've just taken a discrete numbers, but it can be anything. So it's a regression problem. So our task is what? From the given data, find out the relationship between price and size. One of the simplest example. Okay, once you are able to find out the relationship, I can pass my test data and find out the new price. Okay, so how will we model it? Understand. Suppose I have y-axis and I have x-axis. Okay, I have y-axis and I have x-axis. Okay, here is my input parameter x, and here is my output parameter y. Here is some value 0, example 1, 2, 3. Here it is, suppose 1, 2, and 3. And here are the some data points which are given. For x equal to 1, suppose y is equal to something here. For x equal to, suppose y is equal to something here. For x equal to 3, suppose y equal to something here. And so on. Suppose x equal to 4, y is something here. So in linear regression, what we tries to do, understand? In linear regression, we try to find out a best fit line. We try to find out a best fit lines which best fits this data. Suppose that line is this line, which best fits this data. So in linear regression, our objective is to find out the best fit line. What do you mean by best fit line? The objective is to find best fit line. Okay, so there can be how many types of best fit line? Understand what do you mean by best fit line? Means as simple as that, the line whose distance from all the points is minimum. In easier words, the line whose distance from all the points is minimum. So what you will do, actually, you will compute the distance. This is actual point, but if we see, okay, this is the best fit line. Okay, so if this point is projected on this line, it will come here, right? If this point is projected on this line, it will be coming here. If this point is projected here, it will be coming here. This point coming here, it will be coming here. So what we will do, we will try to find out distance between actual points and this predicted line. Okay, this distance, this distance, this distance. We'll find out this distance. Okay, we find out this distance and compute the sum. So we suppose we get, this is nothing but known as error. This is nothing but error which we are getting. Actual should be these points, which we are shown by the x, but we are from the model, we are getting from this straight line, we are getting these points which are mentioned here. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to check, okay, what should be the happening thing. Actually, this is my, let me draw it 1 second. Let me draw it 1 second so that you can understand better. Let me make the brush size bigger. You'll understand that easier way. Okay, suppose my points were here, my point was here, my point was suppose here, and my point was here. I used a best fit line. Okay, so what I did, as per the prediction, at this particular point value should be this, but sorry, this is the true value of the output, but as per the prediction, it will be at the same point, this point. As per the prediction, at this point, the value should be this, but we are getting this. As per the prediction, as per this point, the value should be this, but we are getting this. Okay. As per the prediction, the value should be this, but we are getting this at this corresponding point. We just plotted at top, just plotted at the top, just plotted at the top. Okay. These are actual points. So what we do, we try to find out how much is the error. How we find out error? Find out the distance between these 2 points, this point, and this point, and make the sum of these error. I'll tell you, we'll make a little bit different, but for now, take the sum of this error. Suppose the error is whatever. Suppose the error comes to be E1. Okay. Whatever task is to find a line which has minimum error. We have to find out the line which has minimum error. Okay, so what we will try to do, we will try to find the best fit line, how it can be moved. Suppose I change the slope of this line, I change the slope of line, I increase the slope, suppose, and decrease. There are, if you see, this is a straight line, and a straight line makes what? Y is equal to mx plus c. If you've seen the equation of the line, where m is what? M is the slope, and c is what? Your intercept. And in this case, this will lead to your c. And if we check its angle, how much angle it is making, we can easily compute this. How? We move from this point to this point, this point to this point. This is the angle which is making, which is nothing but your slope, your m, which we are talking about. So we change this line, means make some change in c, decrease the c, increase the m. So decreasing the c, I will come here. Decreasing the c, I will come down, and I increase the slope, suppose. So suppose I get a this line this time. Example, I get a this line. So how I will compute now? I will compute again the distance. So now distance will be this. Distance will be again same, but this distance will be smaller. But now this distance will be bigger. So again we compute, okay, what is my new E? Again we change, and we try to optimize such that my error becomes minimum. So what are our parameters? We have to adjust our M and C in such a manner I get the best fit line. I have to adjust my slope and intercept in such a manner so that I get the best fit line. Is till this point, if any doubt, please tell me. Please, everyone.
Fine, sir.
Is it okay? Are you getting the intuition behind it, how it is working? Please, everyone, it's quite important to understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we get an idea. Suppose now what will happen? Now what is happening? Let me control Z so that I can make the line this one. Suppose this is the line which I'm obtaining right now. This is the line which I'm obtaining right now. So what we do in this case, we define the cost function. Okay, I just said, okay, sum up the error and that will be the error. But that is not the case. Actually, we define a cost function. What is the cost function here? Understand. Suppose the values we are getting here are not the true value. These are predicted values. Suppose I'm calling the predicted values at y hat. Okay. In particular instance, I will say suppose yi. For this point, it is y1. For this point, it is y2. For this point, it is y3. This point is y3. Means y cap hat, y cap 1, y cap 2, y cap 3. Something like that. Okay. And actual value is, I'm saying, suppose just yi, which are these points, this x, this x, this x, this x. So what you have to do, understand what we do. How do we calculate error? We calculate error this way. Take your prediction. Take your prediction means the value of y, which is this one. Okay. This is yi1, y hat 1. Okay. Take this one and take this one. This is the value here, the y, which is nothing but your y1. Example, y1. So do one thing, y1, y hat 1 minus y1, square it. Square it. Okay. Plus, move to the second point, means here. Calculate predicted value, that is y hat 2. Okay. Subtract from it the actual value, that is this, that is y2, square it. Square it. Okay. Let me take an eraser again. Now, again, move to the third point. Third point, take this one. So it is a predicted value. So y hat 3 minus actual value, that is y3, square it. Plus fourth point. Okay. Fourth point. What is the fourth point? Y, this is the predicted one. So y hat 4 minus actual value y4 square. Square it. First thing. Okay. Square it and sum. Means sum the square of error of each point. Sum the square of error of each point. Do that. Okay. And after that, once it is done, divide it by 1 upon 2 into how many points you are having. How many points were there? 1, 2, 3, 4 means 4. That is 4. So actually this formula becomes, see, understand, cost function becomes, how the cost function becomes 1 upon 2 into number of points. Suppose number of points are n. So 2n. How many points were there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 data points only. Sorry, 4 data points. So 4n will be 4 as I mentioned here. Now what is this? This is nothing but summation. So summation symbol. Okay. And how many points we are having? N number of points. So I equal to 1 to n. What we need? Y hat I minus y I ka whole square. This becomes your cost function. Okay. And what our objective becomes? Our objective is to minimize this cost function. And we normally denote it by J, which is a function of what? M and C1. M and C1. And if you follow the machine learning by Andrew Ng, who is a legend, they use terminology theta naught and theta 1. Theta naught is your intercept and theta 1 is your slope. Okay. So our objective is what? Our objective is that we should find out the value of M and C1. We should find out the value of M and C1, which minimize this cost function. I hope our objective is clear. We have to find out the value of M and C1, which minimizes this cost function. Is it fine, everyone? This is known as
Yes, sir.
average square error. Whatever we are seeing is known as average square error. Is it okay? Please tell me. Is it easy? It is easy. So first of all, you have to define a cost function. So here the cost function is average square error, very commonly used. And there is a reason behind choosing it. There are several reasons. Suppose what happens is that first reason, we have squared it. The square has two advantages. One, the positive and negative errors will be handled properly. Positive and negative errors will be handled properly. Suppose if we don't do square of this, okay, we don't do square of this. So what happens? Suppose in this case, error comes to be, and we are not squaring it, error comes to be -3. In this case, error comes to be +3. Error is there, but once we will sum them without squaring, then what will happen? The error will show that error is 0, right or wrong? Please tell me. If we are going to sum this. If we are directly going to sum this, 100% it is going to show this problem. So not a preferred method. Now, two ways are there. Either put a mod of that, then my problem will be solved. But in that case, optimization becomes a bit tougher. Optimization is good when we make square. And the reason, one more reason, our error gets amplified here. Suppose my error is 3 or -3. Once I put a square, my error becomes 9. Okay, so I have a big responsibility now. My error is amplified. I have to minimize my error. Error is looking very big. Even a small error is looking very big. I have to minimize it. So two reasons are there why this square has been chosen particularly here. I hope it makes sense. So what is our objective in the linear regression? Minimize the cost function. How? Choose the value of slope and intercept such that my cost function is minimized. So we have to find out the value of M and C such that my cost function is minimized. I think objective should be clear, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Everyone, please, others, please say something.
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Perfectly fine. So let me take you to the slides of Andrew Ng, because he's the founder of machine learning. Have you heard about Coursera? Have you heard the word? The platform known as Coursera, which provides your...
Yes, sir.
Yes, Coursera. You know who is the founder of that? The founder of that is Mr. Andrew Ng. He's a legend in machine learning. He's a legend. Whatever I know, I can say at least 70% of that is because of this person only. Because of this person only. Okay, so he has a particular course in machine learning, but he actually doesn't teach coding. Let me tell you, he doesn't teach coding. He only teaches concepts. He used Octave. He never used Python. He used Octave, which is very much like a MATLAB, but a free version. It's Legend for sure. So, but coding portion they don't cover. They cover only your concept, theoretical concept. That's normally the procedure everywhere. Okay, so let me show you their slides first of all. Example. This is not the one. I think I've opened the wrong one. Let me go back. Linear regression one variable. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, I'm making it a big one. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, it is only his slides, not my slide. Perfectly, it's only purely his slides. Okay. So same example they have taken. If you can see that, a price and the size, and I followed there. I will be honest. I have taken their examples only. Okay. So this is the one. Say I've taken example. We have to find the best fit line. Okay, and supervised learning, as I told you, regression problem, right? Again, same thing. Don't worry. What their objective is, if you want to find out the best fit line, as I told you, they have taken the terminology to be theta naught plus theta 1. Okay, m1 is your theta 1. Here is your slope like m, and theta naught is your intercept. The same thing they follow. Same concept from training set. Learn, put the size of the house, estimate the price. Okay. This is the cost function we were talking about. See? Okay, they have taken a simple, this is the smallest one they have taken. They are in this assumption, what they have taken, they are assuming that, let's say theta naught is 0. They have taken a theta naught is equal to 0. You can understand, you know, everyone, as I told you, theta naught is what? Intercept. If I make theta naught to be 0, if I make theta naught to be 0, you can understand what is going to happen. Okay, or theta 1 equal to 0. Suppose I put theta 1 equal to 0. That means I have only intercept part. I have only intercept part. So whatever intercept part I will put, suppose they have taken theta 1 to be 0, that is slope is 0. Okay, slope is 0. That means flat line. Slope is 0 means flat line. That's why theta 1 equal to 0. And theta not equal to 1.5. So I will get a flat line of 1.5. Right? In second case, what they have taken? They have taken theta naught to be 0. When theta naught is 0, their intercept is 0. That means you will start from 0 point. You will start from 0 point. If they could take in a slope of 0.5. Line is like this. Now, in other case, they've taken theta naught to be 1. Your intercept is 1. I think you people are aware of all such kind of things, right? And theta 1 is equal to 0.5. So slope will be smaller. Okay, simple. They are saying how many different lines we can happen just by changing the value of theta naught and theta 1. As we have already seen that, but taking 2 examples. Okay. And this is the cost function. Same cost function minimize theta naught and theta 1 such that our error function is minimized. Same task, same, exactly same. This is his writing, not my writing. This is his writing, whatever he has written. Okay. Same thing, doesn't matter. Okay. Again, same thing. Okay. One in the same thing, nothing special. Same thing we were talking. Here the things come. Here the things come. Okay. To understand the thing, how it is happening, what is assumed here is how my cost function will look like. Understand. Let's say we have theta naught plus theta 1x. For sake of simplicity, we are assuming that let's take theta naught to be 0. Let us take theta naught to be 0. What do you mean by theta naught to be 0? That is my intercept is 0. My intercept portion is, here the intercept is theta naught, or in our case it was c. So they have taken that let c is equal to 0. Intercept is 0. So this line will shift here. Okay. So we are getting here. Okay. For simplicity, they are taking that my simpler function is what? Theta 1x. Instead of y is equal to mx plus c, they are taking, let my output is y is equal to mx. Okay, y is equal to mx. They have not taken c. So they have mentioned theta 1x. So don't get confused. Theta 1 is same as m. Okay, fine. Please tell me any doubt.
Yes, sir. Fine.
Everyone, please.
Right, sir.
Okay, fine. Is it okay? So should I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So I'm moving ahead. So whatever my objective, again, same objective is there. I have to minimize my cost function. So I have to choose the value. Now only one parameter is there. So I have to selectively choose the value of m or theta 1 such like that my cost function is minimized. Okay, my cost function is minimal. That is my only objective here. Okay, so we are moving ahead and see what are we are doing. Let me come here. Let me come here. So the first assumption, what we are planning that, let us assume that theta 1 equal to 1. Okay. So for that, they have taken a data point x and y. And actual data points are what? For x equal to 1, y is equal to 1. For x equal to 2, y is equal to 2. And x is equal to 3, y is equal to 3. These are actual data points. Okay. These are actual data points. And for sake of simplicity, as we have seen that they have taken theta naught to be 0. Now let us assuming that theta 1 equal to 1. We can have different value of theta 1, but we are taking that theta 1 equals to 1. So we take theta 1 is equal to 1. Our equation was what? Y is equal to theta 1 into x. When we take theta 1 is equal to 1 here, what we get? Y is equal to x, means whatever x value is there, same will be the y. So for x is equal to 0, y will be 0. For x equal to 1, y will be 1. For x equal to 2, y will be 2. And x is equal to 3, y will be 3. Right? So we can get a straight line like this. For x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. For x is equal to 1, y is 1. For x is equal to 2, y should be 2. For x is equal to 3, y is equal to 3. So when I'm plotting y is equal to x, I'm simply getting a line with this, with exactly coincidence by my actual parameters. So if we track that, this will be my predicted value and this will be my actual value. Predicted value, actual value, predicted value, actual value. So can anybody tell me what will be my cost function in this case? If I try to compute, if predicted and actual are equal?
0.
Yes, perfectly 0. Perfectly 0. So what is being done here? Here, cost function hasn't been taken as a function of theta 1. And here the value of theta 1 has been taken. And we have taken different value, minus 0.5, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. And we just noticed, if we take theta 1 equal to 1, 100% my cost function is going to be 0. We put it here. We put it here. Perfectly fine. Please tell me. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now when we change the value of theta 1, the cost function is going to shift either this way or this way. When I'm going to change theta 1, either 0.5 or 1.5, definitely I will get a different value of cost function. Okay. So let us take different value in the next slide. Sorry. Okay. This has been taken. Okay. This has been taken. Now let us check theta 1 is equal to 0.5. When theta 1 is equal to 0.5, that means slope is 0.5. So my equation becomes what? My equation now becomes y is equal to 0.5 times x. So for x is equal to 0, y will be 0 for sure. Okay. For x equal to 1, y will be 0.5. This is for 0, so this is for 1. For x is equal to 1, it's 0.5. For x is equal to 2, it will become 1. And for x is equal to 3, it will become 1.5. So we can plot the line. For x is equal to 1, it should be 0.5. For x is equal to 2, it should be 1. For x is equal to 3, it should be 1.5. So I get this line. I get this line now. Okay, and actual values are this one. This. So I will find out these terms. This term will be nothing but 0.5 that is predicted minus actual, that is 1 square, plus this one is what? 1. 1 minus 2 square. This is what? 1.5. And this is what? 3. 1.5 minus 3 whole square divided by 1 by 2m. M is how many points? 1, 2, and 3. We just put it there. We get a value of 0.58. Is it fine, everyone? And 0. For theta 1 is equal to 0.5. My loss function is coming to be 0.58, means somewhere here at 0.5 value of theta 1, I'm getting the value here. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Please everyone see. Is it fine? Should I move ahead? Please check.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us try to check the value for theta 1 is equal to 1.5. Let's try to check that. So we are moving to the next slide. And now we take, where is the one? Whichever value we took, it is for 0.5. No issue. You can calculate it by 1.5. So how will we calculate for 1.5? Suppose we took to be 1.5 here. So if we took it to be 1.5, okay, then what will happen? Y is equal to equation becomes 1.5 times of x, right? For x is equal to 0, I'll get 0. For x is equal to 1, I will get 1.5. For x is equal to 2, I will get the value to be 3. For x is equal to 3, I'll get value, sorry, 2. For 2, I will get 3, right? I'm writing right or wrong? Yes, fine. I guess I'm writing fine. Everyone correct me if I'm wrong. For 1, it will be 1.5. For 2, it will be 3. For 3, it will be 6, right? So my line will be what? For 0, it will be 0, perfectly fine. For 1, it will be 1.5. That means here, somewhere here, okay? For 2, it will be 3. That means here. And for 3, it will be 6. So I'll get a new line, something like this.
4.5, sir.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I made some mistake. That's why I'm asking. I'm making some mistake. So 3 and something like this. Okay. Now what we will do? We will compute this distance. We will compute this distance. We will compute this distance, and we can compute the new value very easily. How much value we are getting? See, we are getting value to be 1.5, and it is 1. So new will become 1.5 minus 1 whole square plus we are getting 3 for the value of 2. For the value, what is the value? It is y is equal to mx, so we don't have any problem. So 3 minus 2 whole square plus what we are getting 4.5. 4.5 minus 3 whole square divided by 1 by 2 into 3. So it will become 0.5 square. It will become 1 only. 3 minus 2 is 1. It will become 1.5 square. So we can calculate this value, and we calculate this value, it will be lying somewhere here. Okay. So same for theta 1 to be this way, theta 1 to be this way. A graph has been plotted, and this will be the shape of my loss function. This will be the shape of my loss function. So what we have to do, we can see from this graph, there will be some point where the loss function will be minimum. This is the simplest example that has been taken. This is the simplest example which has been taken, but I'm damn sure you will be able to understand that we will be able to easily identify. There will be some point where this loss function will be minimum. And here will come a very, very important algorithm into the picture. If you heard about it, is known as gradient descent algorithm. Gradient descent algorithm. Let me give you a picture, small picture, what it does. It says that suppose you have taken a value of theta 1 to be 2, and you are here. You are here. Okay. Theta 1 is equal to 2. So you get loss function to be here this way. So it says that at this point, calculate the slope. Calculate the slope means gradient. Gradient of what? We have plotted j theta 1. So just calculate delta j theta 1 with respect to theta 1. That's it. And check whether the slope is positive or negative. Whether the slope is positive or negative. If slope is positive, that means it is increasing in upward direction. Do one thing, decrease the value of theta. Decrease the value of theta, okay? Because if slope is positive, it is saying that simply decrease the value of theta. Because if we decrease the value of theta, we will move to this direction, right or wrong? Please tell me. If we decrease the theta, we can move in this direction. So how do we modify? We modify it this way. New value of theta 1 will be nothing but theta 1 minus theta 1 old value minus a parameter known as learning rate. We denote it by theta. I'll tell you what do you mean by that. A learning rate, new parameter theta, minus differentiation of what? Your cost function. What is your cost function? J of theta 1 with respect to theta 1. Okay, so what it says simple. If this is positive, this will be always a positive parameter. Learning rate will be always parameter. It's just trying to tell you how much theta 1 you want to change. How much theta 1 you want to change. It's a scaling factor, basically. A scaling factor, as simple as that. Okay, so how much you want to change your theta 1. Suppose let's say I say 0.2. I just said theta 1 is 0.2. If this parameter is positive, that is I am going upwards towards the cost function. That means my cost function is increasing. That means I am going in the wrong direction. That's why theta 1 is positive. This slope is positive. That means my cost function is increasing. That's 100% sure I'm going in the wrong direction. Please change the direction. Change the direction. And direction changes what? Move opposite to the direction of slope. Remember, move to opposite to the direction of slope. Slope is going upwards. You try to move downwards. Okay, that's why this minus as it is. So what will happen if this is positive? Okay, this is positive. Multiply by some positive quantity. This will be a negative quantity. So new theta will be, of course, older theta 1 minus some positive quantity. So new theta 1 will be lesser than some older theta 1. So means instead of here, you will be somewhere here, right? And where your cost function will be definitely less than your original, which was available earlier. Tell me, is it clear or not? Please see and tell me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now see, similar concept. If we are here, okay, if we are here, check the slope. Check the slope. Now tell me, slope is what? Here slope is negative, right or wrong? Here the slope is negative. It is going in upward direction. It is coming in downward direction. Here slope is negative. That means what? Okay, you are moving in right direction. Okay, your slope is negative. That means what? See, you will put a negative value here. It will be negative. So negative will become what? Positive. So new theta 1 will be, this term will be added to the older value of theta 1. Whatever value of theta 1 you are having right now, this new quantity will be added to that. So your new theta 1 will be increased now. And when new theta 1 will be increased, you will be moving in this direction where my cost function is getting reduced. Where my cost function is getting reduced. This algorithm that we are studying that is known as gradient descent algorithm. Okay, and it has several variants. One variant is known as vanilla gradient descent. Vanilla gradient descent or batch gradient descent. Batch gradient descent means do one thing. Take, suppose your data points are X and Y. Sorry, your data points are like X and Y. Okay, and it has suppose 10 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it will say that, okay, compute Y for everything. You do prediction. When all data set is covered, fine. Now compute my cost function. Now compute my cost function. And after computing that cost function, after all the points computation, do the update. Means after completing all the data points, updation means after all the data points you have to cover, after that updation will happen. Once you have gone through all the data points, only then you will update. After covering all the data points, you will do update. Means this update will happen after traversing through all the data points once. When updated, then you will compute again your output function with respect to new theta 1. Okay, once computed, again you will calculate your cost function and do weight updation. So a weight updation will happen after completing all the data points once. So you will go, what will happen? You will compute it something. Initially, you will assume something. Okay, this is my theta 1. Let's my assumption is something theta 1. So you will, for the same theta 1, you will compute your Y. How? Y is equal to mx or theta 1x. You will calculate all the predicted value for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You will compute for everything. You will plot your cost function again. And find out the calculate function, your cost function using same formula, compute new theta 1. Again, using new theta 1, compute your value of Y prediction again. Again, repeat the process till you reach the optimum point. This is known as batch, means complete batch of data has to be processed as a different variant. One variant is known as stochastic gradient descent. Stochastic gradient descent. And second one is known as mini batch gradient descent. Mini batch gradient descent. Understand this way. In stochastic gradient descent, your weight updation or this slope updation will happen after each data point. You will, first data point is covered, it will tell, okay, how much is the cost function? Update the weight. Second data point, update the weight. Means you will take first data point, you will calculate a cost function for the y, you will update your weight. Using that updated weight, you will take your second data point, check it. How much is the error? According to the error, update the weight or update the theta, whatever you are calling. Now taking new data, calculate third point. So after every data point, after every value of input variable, you are going to do weight updation. This is your stochastic gradient descent. Okay, this is your stochastic gradient descent. And in ordinal, what happens? Let me clear everything. Okay, so I'm mentioning again, suppose I have several data points, X and Y. Suppose entry is 1.2, 3.4, 5.6, 7.2, and 5.2. Okay. In original gradient descent or vanilla gradient descent or batch gradient descent, weight update will happen or theta update will happen only after completing all the points. Okay, after completing all the input points. How many points are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In stochastic gradient descent, weight updation will happen after each data point. Means first point is covered, calculate y hat, update weight. With the new weight, compute new y hat, update weight. With the new weight, compute new y hat, update weight. Means after each data point, you are going to update the weight. Okay. And one which is mixture of both the things, known as mini batch. That you must be understanding that mini batch gradient descent. You will specify here what should be your mini batch size. Gradient descent. What it does? Neither it updates the weight after every data point, neither it updates the weight after all the data points. You will tell them, okay, don't update after entire batch, don't update after each point. Let's make a compromise. Let's make a compromise. I'll say that, let's say batch size is 2. So what it will do? It will do weight updation after 2 data points. If I said mini batch size is 2, it will update the weight after every 2 data points. Is it fine, everyone? All the 3 variants.
Yes, sir.
Vanilla gradient descent, okay, your stochastic gradient descent, your mini batch gradient descent. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm moving ahead.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, today I have class.
Can
I leave?
Kya bolun yaar? What should I say?
Sir, okay, it is fine. You continue and I will actually listen it from recording, sir.
Okay, okay. I'll finish in 5 minutes. You can leave. Let me explain others.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you and good night.
Good night, good night. Okay. Now, but let us take, we have taken theta1, but in actual scenario, what will happen? Instead of only theta1, you have to take theta naught as well. Okay, you have to take theta naught as well. So the actual equation will become theta naught plus theta1x, or y is equal to mx plus c. Same equation. Now your optimized function will what become? Your optimization function that we have discussed will become, choose the value of m and c, or in this particular case, for in terms of Andrew NG, your theta naught and theta1, such that they minimizes my loss function, theta naught and theta1. The loss function will be same 1 upon 2m, whatever function predicted value minus actual value ka whole square. Just that now the cost function will become a function of both of these. So now 2 weight updates will be happening at the same time. One for the theta1, one for the theta naught. So you will write 2 equations. Okay. You will write 2 equations now. Your 2 weight updation will happen. You're all drawing. Let me clear it. Okay. Let me show you that. So see, now the plane is 3D plane. Now what have been taken is a 3D plane. In one plane, theta naught has been taken. In one plane, sorry, in one axis, theta naught has been taken. One theta1 has been taken, and one j has been taken, your loss function. And this time again, it will be like this, but now it has become a 3D figure. Again, it has become a 3D figure, but certainly there will be some point which will be having minimum value of cost function. There will be something which will be having minimum value of cost function. So our objective is to reach that point where the cost function is always minimum. Where the cost function is always minimum. And for that, if you heard about the contour plots or different plots can be used. But if you are taking two variables or more than two your weights, theta 1 and theta naught, then it will be a 3D figure, as you can see. But problem will be almost same. If we are getting a 3D figure and we have to reach the optimum point where the cost function is minimum. Can you visualize in 3D? Can you visualize? Very much like an umbrella put on the floor. Take an umbrella and put on the floor. But opposite means its stick should be in facing roof. Its stick should be facing roof. So in that umbrella, there is a point which is the minimum point, right or wrong? So you can assume this way. Move to the corner of your house in which you have two boundaries, one on the horizontal axis, x-axis you can take it, one as a z-axis and one is the height axis. Okay, so if you move to a corner, if you are from electronics background, in EMFT we study this way. In EMFT we study this way. If you're taking a wall, okay, something like this. This is the boundary. It is height, and here suppose we have a width. Okay, this is the corner. So if we are, this is our height of the room. This is one axis. This is one axis. Suppose this is theta 1. This is theta naught. Okay, something like that. My room is square. This is something like this. I put a umbrella here. Okay, so at the bottom there will be minimum point where it is my cost function. Okay, so we have to reach that minimum point. I hope it is fine, everyone. Please tell me, is it okay? I'm not able to hear anyone. Is anyone present or everyone has left?
So we are here. It is fine, sir.
Okay, fine. Others, I can only hear Rakesh, sir, if I'm correct. What about others? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I'm moving ahead now. Same thing you can see with the help of contour plots, but leave it. It's not required. Okay, same function is whatever we were discussing, same thing they're saying. They've taken example here as well. For example, this is the path chosen. So actually it depends on, you will be initially choosing some random value of theta naught and theta 1. So if you wrongly choose them, okay, if you choose them differently, all the task is what? You have to come at the bottom. If you suppose choose here, okay, if you choose your initial point such that your theta naught and theta 1, my j is this way here, then I may choose this path. Okay, then first step, then second step, then third step, then fourth step, then I may land here. If suppose I moved here and then started moving down, then I may move here, I may move here, I may move here, then again I may move here. So you may land at different paths depending upon initial value of chosen value of theta naught and theta 1. That is one of the issues of your gradient descent as well. So initial point, what you have chosen, how you are traversing, then that is take time. Okay, so you should understand that thing. Let me move ahead again. It's same path what I was speaking, they are showing. Again, instead of now updating only one theta naught or theta 1, now you have to update two parameters at the same time. Two parameters. Theta naught you have to update by the same way. Theta naught minus learning rate, alpha they have taken. Differentiation of cost function with respect to the same parameter theta naught. Again, theta 1 you have to update. Theta 1 minus learning rate into differentiation, your slope of this one, your cost function with respect to theta 1. So both of the updates you have to do. This is the very important thing to note it down. See, it is very important. Differentiation will be happening always with respect to the same weight which you are updating. So it will be a slope of j theta by theta naught by theta naught. Here, differentiation of j with respect to theta 1 because I'm updating same weight. So both update will happen simultaneously. And again, objective is what? To reach the minimum error. To reach the minimum error or minimum cost function. This is known as optimization problem. If somebody asks you what is gradient descent, you will say gradient descent is what? An optimization problem. We have to minimize the cost function. Gradient descent is not only used here, it can use anywhere. And same form, see, repeat this process until convergence. Till you reach your maximum point where you want to reach. Maximum means maximum accuracy, not minimum of your loss function. Okay, or maximum towards your result. You need minimum of your cost function. Cost function should be as less as possible, or your error should be as low as possible. You will repeat this process, keep updating your weight, keep updating your weight, keep updating your weight till you reach your convergence point. For example, it was like this. Suppose as first point I was here, it's in first weight update, I moved here. Okay, this is first step. In second update, I moved here. In third update, I moved here and reached the minimum. So in various steps, you may reach there. So you have to repeat these steps. You have to repeat this step. And what is the process of learning rate? See, understand. This is nothing but your step size. This is what step size. Step size means I am coming from this point to this point, but how much I have to move? Suppose I moved only from this point to this point, very small. Then very second step this. Third update this. Fourth update this. 5 update this. I will reach minimum, but it will take a longer time. But if I take a larger step, I came here. I came here. Suddenly my step is larger. Then I may miss minima as well. I may move here. Then I may move here. Then I may move here. Then I may move here. So we have to choose your learning rate to be properly. It's nothing but step size. How much you are going to move during gradient descent update. If you are going to update a very large size, you may miss your minimum. If you are going to update by small step, then definitely you will reach minimum, but it will take time. So optimum value of grade learning rate should be chosen. Even if you leave it that way, this slope is going to become slower. See, if we come here, as this point, at this point, the slope is very high. As we come here, slope is less. If we come here, how much is the slope here? Here the slope is 0. So automatically things happen for you. I think, can I stop for now? We'll continue it tomorrow. Is it okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll continue it tomorrow. Okay, then we'll do practical implementation as well. Right now, we have taken only one variable. We'll continue tomorrow with the more variables. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the time.